I I thought we canceled Steve Harvey. I thought we canceled him. Hey everybody, it's Old School Hard back for another cultural conversation. If you like this video, please hit the thumbs up button for me. Please leave your comments down below. Let's start a discussion about this. I want to hear your opinions, what you think about this topic. And I also need you to share this on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, wherever this video can be shared. That would be great. And if you are not a subscriber to the channel, you need to become a subscriber, because we are going to continue having cultural conversations that make you think about your perspective and everything else in between. So let's get into it. We have toe tapping Steve Harvey, who did an interview with Monique. Now, NBC really did their job in hyping up this interview to the point where they didn't even dispel the rumors that had come about because of this interview. They had said Monique said she was going to smack the hell out of Steve Harvey. That was the biggest rumor out there. And so everybody was waiting to see this little moment. They said that there was a disagreement between Steve Harvey and Monique that made Monique very, very angry. And it's so crazy that something like that can cause so much talk and controversy. It's almost like anytime you hear a big black woman make any noise, then it's presumed that this is an angry black woman conversation. Monique is a bigger black girl, so this is an angry black girl conversation. Come watch angry black woman just make a whole bunch of noise. I have been a part of that as a big black girl. Anything that I say seems to be this puts into the category of angry black girl, just for stating an opinion, just for having a heavy voice, just for being able to check people when needed, when other people are able to do that and they are not as criticized or abused because of it. So anyway, finally this segment comes on TV. It's all hyped up. They do it in 2 parts to make it appear as if Monique is going to snap on Steve Harvey to the point where they are going to almost come to blows. That didn't happen at all. There was a discussion, and I believe that the discussion could have been a whole lot better on Steve's part, simply because, and here's the thing, Steve is not an anchor, a broadcaster, a journalist, so I don't expect journalism integrity at all as it relates to Steve, even though he's been doing radio for a long time, even though he's been doing TV for quite some time. He's not Oprah. He's not any of those type of people. So my problem with Steve is he doesn't know how to allow his guest to be heard. And that's what I got from this interview. He did not want Monique to be heard. He basically had her there to basically finally state his opinion. He wasn't really trying to listen to Monique to begin with. There was a difference between his interview and the interview that Monique did about a year ago with the View. The one thing that was different about that is they had her on a round table. They asked her questions. She was able to answer, and they listened. She did have that issue with Whoopi, but it is what it is. Whoopi can't school nobody at this point. But anyway, that's the difference between Steve Harvey and The View. So basically, he didn't let Monique talk during this whole thing. He didn't listen, to Monique. He basically listened to respond. And so he just told her, you know, there has to come a time where you have to decide whether or not you want to feed your family, or you want to do something for integrity, or you want to do something for integrity's sake that's not going to really mean anything, pretty much. And then he was like, the best thing that you could do for poor people is not be poor, which is one of the dumbest things I've ever heard before. It's just so stupid. But coming out of Steve Harvey's mouth, who said some controversial dumb stuff before, is just beyond the point. My biggest issue with this whole interview is Steve Harvey is the epitome of some black men in the United States who do not want to hear black women talk, who do not want to listen to black women. and they become the problem for voicing their opinion. They become the problem for voicing their discomfort. And that's what we've been saying for a very long time. That whole thing with R. Kelly, that whole thing with Monique is simply about hearing Black people and then sticking up for them. She's not asking for a lot. What she's saying is, because I decided to do something outside of the norm of being a yes ma'am lady, like we've all been doing before, we put aside what we have, what our agenda is. We put aside motherhood. We put aside this. We put aside that. On top of being Black, we put aside all of this stuff just to be a yes man person. And once in my life, I decided to not do that. I decided to not do that, and I was blackballed. I decided to not do that, and Netflix decided not to pay me what I was worth. And it's funny, Steve Harvey just acts like he just doesn't understand. And that's because a lot of what Steve Harvey does requires him to not talk and to be quiet. I mean, how many Black people are sitting at home watching Family Feud? The whole audience that was there that day was half white. You're on NBC in the morning with a majority all white type of morning shows. So it's just like, Steve Harvey didn't have her there because he sincerely wanted to have a sit down talk and to hear her side. He wanted to be the one as a man to tell her to be quiet, to shut up, and to get along. See, if you had just been quiet, then you would just be able to get along, and that would be it. And Monique just had to be like, bruh, I'm not about to do that for you. I'm not about to get along for you, because I know that's what you want me to do. If I don't say anything, then everything else can happen. Anything else can happen, and which is the truth. Anything else could happen. And it's funny that Steve Harvey has such a difficult time with this interview when Homeboy's show is about to be taken by Kelly Clarkson. Now, if you don't have Monique's, then who sticks up for you, Steve? Because Kelly ain't got the record that you got. Kelly started off on American Idol. You've been doing radio for about 20 years. And you know how I know that is because Tom Joyner let you host his show back in Chicago back in the day. You started off filling in for him. He showed you the front end and the back end of the radio business. Then you moved on to have your own show. You had Crazy Howard McGee to let you take over his show a little bit sometimes. Doug Banks, God rest his soul, let you take over his show. You learned the ropes from them. You've been doing this for a long time, and they gonna boot your ass for some Kelly Clarkson. So I guess what you're supposed to do, and what you probably will do, is just get along and go by. Because I'm trying to figure out where else you about to go. ABC has their morning show, The View. They're not about to kick The View off for you. Maybe they'll remove the people on the Chew or whatever that other channel is. Maybe you could go there. Kelly Clarkson, them, they got their time. Price is Right come on in the morning. So where you think you going, bro? So if you don't stick up for yourself and say, my show has proved time and time again that it's going to work. If you bet on this girl who is unexperienced, who's never had a talk show, who's never been in the game as long as I have, who doesn't have the audiences as I have, you're going to lose your audience in the morning. You're going to lose your audience throughout the day. Because I don't know if he come on in the morning. I know some places he come on in the afternoon. But she's about to boot you. And that's what Monique is talking about. If you don't start saying no, if you don't start pulling up with some receipts, with some things that you have done, then they will walk over you. And that's exactly what they're about to do to you, Steve. That's exactly what they're about to do to you. And you can't pull your resume out. Just like Monique tried to pull her resume out with Netflix, and they said, yeah. Pull your resume out to NBC and see if they won't still boot you for Kelly Clarkson. Huh, Steve? I mean, let's be fair here. Let's be fair here. So, People keep saying Monique needs to be quiet. Monique needs to shut up. Monique needs to not talk about this anymore. Monique has her Las Vegas show, a standing show. I haven't seen any black woman ever to do this. I think that Whoopi Goldberg may have done a couple of things with that, but I haven't seen anybody do that in a while. So she has her show, so she's putting in the work. She's putting in what she's supposed to be doing. And it's just funny that regardless of her speaking, because they're calling her, she's not calling them, that everybody's telling her to be quiet. But then again, when they tell her to be quiet, then something bad happens to them. Hello, Kevin Hart. I'm just saying, we have to look at all of this. And not only that, if Monique wasn't as big as she says she is, Netflix wouldn't have changed their whole script around or whole catalog around to fit the needs of African American people after she went on and said, let's boycott. She has to have some type of power because that programming changed. They put more things on there that black people want to see and want to look at. Before Monique said what she said, if you look at the catalog back then, there wasn't a lot of interesting shows to watch on Netflix. I know we like to use Netflix and chill a lot, but there were not a lot of black programs that interest us. After she said that, a whole bunch of black stuff came up. A whole bunch. So for her not to be that powerful, it's funny that catalog changed and then they hired a black person to be a part of the executive office. So Monique didn't have no power? Okay, I guess. So, so I'm just saying, I stand with Monique. I'm here for Monique. I know what it feels like to be a big black girl who has a big mouth, who doesn't like to be pushed over, who will verbally say that she doesn't want to be pushed over, who has been hurt, who has been betrayed, who has been called this angry black woman and told to be quiet because of her voice. I completely understand what she's saying because I've had to deal with it myself. And I still deal with it. I still deal with it to this day. So please leave your comments down below. Let's start a discussion. If you are on Steve Harvey's side, state why you're on Steve Harvey's side. It's okay. I can take it, I guess. But if you're on Steve Harvey's side, if you are neutral in this, if you want both of them to shut up, please leave your comments down below. This is Old School Heart. Have a good night.